There are some pretty disturbing cases of trolls stealing people's online photos and likenesses in order to create mischief online. Any photo you upload to the internet can become a mask for a malicious anonymous person. This individual harming your reputation and potentially going as far as committing online crimes under your identity. From online humiliation all the way to lives being ruined, these are the real-world victims of internet trolls. Today's video is sponsored by Bespoke Post. Bespoke Post is a monthly membership club delivering you a box of awesome, which takes the form of top-shelf items from across the country. Take, for example, this cast iron skillet from Marcellin in Bespoke's Over Easy box. The quality of this thing is a straight up level up from my previous cast iron, which was from a reputable brand, might I add. It came with some pancake mix too, so bon appetit. Bespoke has plenty of box options to choose from, anything from camping to cooking to hygiene, you name it. 90% of Bespoke's products come from small businesses, many of which are based right here in the US. To get started, you simply take a short quiz and Bespoke will match you up with a box they think you like. Additionally, you can sign up for Bespoke's new membership program, which grants you amazing deals year-round, 30% off at times and even more. Totally free to join. You'll get a customized selection of products picked for you, and before it's shipped, you can preview what's inside. Decide if you'd like to keep it, swap out products, or skip the month entirely for no charge. You only pay for what you want. One of the cooler knickknacks that I've gotten from Bespoke is this Flicker Fire personal fireplace from Bespoke's Flame Box. It's made of concrete and uses rubbing alcohol as a fuel source. Now, you could actually cook off of this if you wanted to, but personally I've been using it as more of a vibe setter and I mean, hell, it's doing the job, I must say. So with all that said, you guys can get a free mystery gift when you subscribe to Bespoke by using code WAVYGIFT at checkout, or by going to the link in the description box. That's bespokepost.com/WAVYGIFT. If you've used Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram over the last decade, you've without a doubt seen the face of this particular Indian man. It's said that this individual is an American-based Indian immigrant, an internet-savvy convenience store clerk named Pakalu Papito. Across the internet, one can find humorous and oftentimes scandalous social media posts and captions associated with this mustachioed man's likeness. Some of these get a bit spicy. Now, as fun as it is to imagine that these tweets are being issued by a seemingly middle-aged Indian guy, the obvious reality with Pakalu Papito is that this is simply some random person's photo that the internet trolls and memesters have used to masquerade as for some time now. So this begs the question, how did Pakalu Papito find themselves in this situation, with their identity essentially hijacked by trolls? And of course, is Pakalu Papito really Pakalu Papito at all? In the early 2010s, gimmick meme accounts were becoming popular on Twitter. Many of the notable pages would simply take a random photo of someone from Google Images that matched the comedic vibe they were looking for, and the troll would essentially hijack the individual's likeness, using it as a mask or character, if you will. One such Twitter character created at this time took the form of a supposedly lonely Indian store clerk who was looking for romantic companionship. On July 12, 2013, a Twitter account by the name of Pakalu Papito would make its debut on social media, tweeting out its very first post. Quote, "Hello Twitter, I am single." The troll behind the Pakalu Papito account played into the, creepy, where's my hug, down bad Indian guy stereotype. It was pretty obvious satire. The supposed store clerk captured the intrigue of the Twitter community, and many followed the page, seeing what else the supposed clerk had to say. Pakalu would then go on to tweet out many self-deprecating jokes playing on the Indian caricature, but also tweeted out genuinely funny one-liners that were completely unrelated to Indian shit. With great power comes great electricity bill. Me, why am I single? Me, sees face. Me, oh, that's why. Are you bad Wi-Fi? 'Cause I'm feeling no connection here. Me waking up. I can't wait to go to sleep tonight. If I swallow magnets, will I become attractive? Why get thinner when you can get more dinner? I would lose weight, but I hate losing. Chuckle-worthy gimmick accounts are a dime a dozen these days, but for the time, Pakalu Papito was truly one of a kind, and in due time this account and the troll behind it would amass a cult following of sorts. Pakalu would garner much attention in short time. Tweets regularly received over 5,000 favorites and 15,000 retweets. Within the first 2 years of the account's existence, the cult of Pakalu Papito had amassed over 739,000 followers on Twitter. As Pakalu found success on the site, soon the account would spread its Indian influence across other social media platforms. In September of 2013, the account reportedly operated by the troll became active on Facebook, amassing over 475,000 likes in short time. Pakalu would become an internet enigma, and the Papito phenomenon would be covered by various online blogs and articles, many of which attempted to speculate in regard to who exactly was behind the account and where exactly did the infamous profile picture come from. While some out there certainly felt as if the Pakalu Papito account was actually genuine and operated by an Indian guy of the same name, those with anything higher than a room temperature IQ were interested in figuring out who was really behind the account, and of course, where the infamous photo was from. In 2018, as Pakalu's Twitter popularity was at its peak, the notorious convenience store clerk was forced into an early retirement. Shortly after passing 2.13 million followers, the account was inexplicably suspended from Twitter permanently. Fans were saddened, and the exact reason for the termination is still theorized to this day. Whatever the case, Pakalu Papito was gone, but as the old saying goes, you can kill a man, but you can't kill the idea. The cult of Papito would carry on after the OG account suspension. Various copycat accounts using this Indian man's face would pop up in this mimetic clout vacuum of sorts. While the copycat Pakalus never truly compelled the internet in the same way that the OG account did, the continued success of social media accounts using this man's likeness up until this day speaks to the legacy of the character. And the most bizarre part of all of this is that the actual man in this photo, the actual guy behind the Pakalu Papito meme, it's likely that he has no idea about any of this online nonsense surrounding his photo. For close to a decade, trolls have stolen this man's image and used it as a punchline, telling a litany of crass jokes and self-deprecating quips, oftentimes at the man in this picture's expense, potentially damaging his reputation if those who knew him in the real world encountered these wild online postings and believed he was the one behind them, which of course he isn't. And this of course begs the question, who actually is Pakalu Papito? Like, not the troll, but the actual guy in the picture. Well, and while I must stress what I'm about to report to you is speculation, it's possible that Pakalu Papito is actually a college educator in India. For many years, fans of the Pakalu account have tried to link the identity of the man in the picture to a real person. Many attempts have been made, with only one connection being reasonably likely. In 2019, a post originating from 9gag began floating around the internet. I know it's 9gag, bear with me guys, it gets good, I promise. This post purported to have solved the identity crisis of Pakalu Papito, claiming that the individual was actually a teacher's assistant named Prakash, who worked at the India Institute of Technology in Kanpur. To prove this, the poster provides a screenshot from what appears to be a backdated version of the Institute's website, which featured none other than the internet-famous image associated with Pakalu Papito. Pakalu Papito, it's a photo stolen from Prakash, confirmed? Hold your horses. Now, this post has no working link for those curious who want to fact-check what is presented. I mean, hell, someone could have simply photoshopped this picture onto the Institute's website, for Christ's sake. If you visit the Institute's website today, this Prakash fellow still works for the Institute's physics department, though it appears he's been promoted to senior technical superintendent. Good on you, Mr. Prakash. However, what's problematic for confirming the aforementioned 9gag post is that the photo for Prakash now is different. Yes, it kind of looks like the same dude in the Pakalu photo, but obviously, it's not the same image. Hard to say if it's the same person. Now, it's very likely that if Pakalu is actually Prakash, the photo on the Institute's website could have one time been the Pakalu photo and has just since been updated. Frustratingly, I've been unable to load up a working Wayback Machine archive of the faculty list proving this. Now, there was a point when digging into this story that I was becoming convinced that the viral 9gag post showing the Pakalu Papito image on the Institute website, I started to feel like it was actually photoshopped. But then I noticed something. See how in the 9gag post the Pakalu portrait photo shows almost the entire upper third of the man's body? I started to realize that I'd never really seen that much of him in images used before. Like, the meme accounts almost always feature him with just the neck up. This was a rare Pakalu, a potential lost source image of the meme, perhaps. I felt like there was something here that I could go off of. So, I took a screenshot of the 9gag Pakalu and put it into a reverse image search. And what I found, let's just say it keeps the dream alive in regard to Pakalu being employed at one of the most prestigious academic institutions in all of India. Reverse image search led me to a dead link. A link that seemed to have been trying to take me to a lost archive of Om Prakash's Institute faculty profile picture from an old version of the official website. After getting a 404, I put this link in the Wayback Machine and found a working archive from all the way back in 2004. I clicked go and this happened. The official institute page for Om Prakash's faculty photo back in 2004 loaded up a JPEG image of none other than Pakalu Papito. I must emphasize that all of this is speculation, but yeah. And to be crystal clear, I know it's redundant to say this, but I am absolutely not insinuating that Om Prakash created the Pakalu Twitter account. He did not post any of this stuff. Rather, if it is indeed his old photo, he was an innocent guy who got his picture stolen by an online prankster. Whatever the case, the story of Pakalu Papito is one that showcases just how easy it is for someone's likeness to get hijacked by trolls. At this very moment, a publicly posted photo of yours could be used as a mask for internet jokesters halfway across the world. The man behind the Pakalu Papito photo can't be 100% confirmed at this time, nor can the troll behind the original Twitter account's creation. They remain two enigmatic individuals, one unwittingly and the other very wittingly responsible for one of the most iconic internet memes in history. That was the story of Pakalu Papito. Our next story showcases a rather disturbing instance of online trolls nearly ruining someone's life. Their victim? A completely innocent middle-aged woman who posted a comment online that these trolls didn't like. When sharing your thoughts about a British television show online goes horribly wrong, this is the disgusting trolling of Nicola Brooks. In November of 2011, British X Factor contestant Frankie Kokaza had just controversially left the show. Kokaza was alleged by the X Factor showrunners of misconduct after the man had been caught discussing and bragging about cocaine use behind the scenes. Contestants of X Factor were made to follow a golden rule of sorts which dictated drug use would disqualify one as a contestant. When this information about him was discovered, Frankie was disqualified. Many viewed Kokaza as a punk of sorts already, and this development didn't help his image. He was unpopular with fans of the show, and after being kicked off in this way, things only got worse for him. He started to receive a lot of hate online. But not all joined this hate mob. Nicola Brooks, the woman introduced at the start of this chapter, though, had sympathy for the young man, and felt that these online detractors were being a bit harsh. So she took to Facebook and offered a few words of support for the embattled ex-contestant. Quote, "Keep your family and friends close, Frankie, and ride it out." It was a single comment amidst a sea of hundreds. What Nicola Brooks didn't realize is that sending this message of support would prove to be the biggest mistake of her life, as she would be singled out by the Frankie haters and almost immediately was the subject of vitriol and eventual legitimate harassment. This wasn't something as routine as a simple flame war. Her whole identity would be hijacked online. Soon, multiple accounts popped up using her name and pictures that had been posted to her Facebook account. Yes, as punishment for supporting an X Factor candidate that they didn't like, malicious trolls would start masquerading as her online, using her profile images to interact sexually with minors, their apparent goal, labeling her as a pedophile. These trolls would post as her, using her images, purporting to be a drug dealer, as well as harassing random accounts and messaging minors inappropriately. Nicola says, quote, At one point, there were more photos of me on Frankie's X Factor page than there were of Frankie, telling people I'm a pedophile drug dealer. And there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it. The reporting tool did not work. When Nicola would reply back to these trolls, they would make clone accounts impersonating herself, posting comments saying that she enjoyed abusing children. Nicola says, quote, "When I saw the clone child abuse account, I contacted solicitors and the police." An example of the type of posts these trolls would make masquerading as Nicola: "Leave me alone. Just because I was charged once with child abuse, everyone still harasses me. Those kids enjoyed it." Shocked responders, thinking the woman legitimate, say, "I doubt they did, madam. That's called sexual harassment. Brooks, you're disgusting." The troll account replies, "Well, the kids on this page, I am grooming them." These trolls would also Photoshop pornographic and gory images of Nicola, and they would even go as far as harassing the woman's daughter using social media. As time passed and more trolls joined the abuse campaign, the stakes would be increased further, with more illegal activity being engaged in by detractors. On top of being smeared as a pedophile, one particularly nasty troll would hack her Facebook account. All of this because she supported a contestant from a British talent show that they didn't like. The harassment had become so prevalent and normalized within the X Factor fandom online that abusing this woman in a fucked up way had become a meme. The virtual brutality that Nicola endured had caused the woman crippling anxiety. She really had no way of getting any sort of recourse through the local authorities, as cybercrimes at the time weren't as well understood or taken as seriously as they are today. Local cops weren't helping much.
No matter how I myself reported it, tried to deal with it myself, you just feel isolated.
And what about the police? Were they any good?
The police, from day one, they really haven't wanted to know. They never wanted to investigate my case from the start.
So to stop this ongoing defamatory hijacking of her identity online, Nicola was forced to take things into her own hands legally and compel the justice system to care about her plight. But after much persistence and after filing several complaints, Nicola would eventually get the court's attention, and she was granted a high court order against Facebook in 2012. This order could be used to obtain the IP addresses of the people that had abused her online, and most importantly, the person who had hacked her. During the investigation into the hacking and profile snatching, police would hone in on one suspect in particular who they felt was responsible for the abuse. Ironically, their suspect was a 32-year-old police officer from Bournville, Birmingham. He would be arrested on suspicion of misuse of a computer, but it's been reported that no charges were brought against this man. The hunt for the primary online tormentor would continue. Meanwhile, this whole ordeal would be covered publicly in the media and would transition Nicola into an activist of sorts who spoke out against internet trolls, which obviously caused her to have a rather large target on her back. In many ways, this speaking out about things fanned the flames of the persistent online predators even more. One user who anonymously harassed Nicola for years was 39-year-old internet troll, real name Nicky Wright, this man hailing from Lewisham, southeast London. This London-based internet troll/criminal acted under the pseudonym Prickly Finger and used this mask to wage internet warfare against Nicola, creating approximately 28 Twitter and 25 Facebook accounts, as well as blog sites and online radio and video channels dedicated to disparaging and harassing Nicola Brooks. These accounts would make crude comments and statements, attacking Nicola for health conditions that she had, such as Crohn's disease, as well as posting unflattering photos misusing and warping her image. The trolling and harassment from this individual in particular progressively increased, as the malicious Mr. Wright would eventually dox Nicola's address on Facebook and make multiple disturbing sexual remarks about her. He would also go on to post videos centered around attacking the woman to YouTube, beginning in June of 2016 all the way to September of 2017. A complete obsession. Throughout all of this, Nicola had yet to have any sort of recourse legally. She began to lose faith in the police, and the anxiety surrounding all of this was becoming too much, causing her Crohn's disease to flare up. There had to be something done to make all of this stop. She had to collect her own evidence to use against her troll herself. So working diligently in this regard, she built up a case for herself. And to be honest, it probably wasn't all too difficult to do this. She was able to source over 150 screenshots showcasing abusive activity from her primary troll in just one day. Once police were presented with this evidence, they would finally take action. seizing Nikki Wright's phone, and there they found multiple accounts linked to trolling Miss Brooks. This led to the man's arrest. One of her harassers had finally been caught. Now, Nikki would be allowed out of jail while he was on trial. In fact, it's reported that he actually overslept on the day of his verdict being read. The man was absent while being found guilty in the Brighton Magistrates Court. He would later turn himself in to the local police station. During the sentencing hearing, Miss Brooks wrote a lengthy statement discussing Nikki's harmful online activity and how it negatively affected her mental state and overall life. She read this in court in front of the man. Unsurprisingly though, the degenerate X Factor fanatic wasn't having any of it and refused to listen to the emotional retelling of his abusive treatment of her. He reportedly plugged his fingers into his ears to avoid her voice like a fucking child. In court, Miss Brooks said that Wright had destroyed her life, exposed her to, quote, psychological torture, and said that her life had, quote, very little joy, and her faith in human nature had been shattered. During the trial, the trollish Mr. Wright would frequently look up into the public gallery in a menacing fashion where Nicola sat, in what could be perceived as some form of intimidation. He also complained about the media being present in the courtroom. He said that, he was worried about certain information getting out to the public. Well, you talking about all the fucked up shit you did, dog? Nikki Wright's defense in court would argue that he was suffering mental issues that were only being exacerbated due to the stress of the trial. However, that argument swayed few, and almost no one felt pity for this pathetic man. Nikki Wright would later be sentenced to serve 22 weeks in jail with an extra 2 weeks on top of that due to him failing to appear in court. While delivering his sentence, the judge handling his case would refer to Nikki as a coward. His stalking was described by the judge as, quote, about as serious as it can get, also describing him as a cowardly predator who hid behind internet anonymity to wage a, quote, sinister and deeply personal campaign. The judge finally comments, quote, I find you deliberately chose to not come to court because you lacked the courage to face your victim in the flesh. When being sentenced, Nikki threw up a derogatory hand gesture towards the court as he was taken into custody. A restraining order would also be approved, which not only prevented Mr. Wright from interacting with Nicola, but the culprit couldn't even as much as type her name on Facebook without breaking the order of protection. After the sentencing, Miss Brooks said, quote, I feel like I can finally exhale. I'm really pleased with the sentence. He has got absolutely no regard for authority, the law, or the court. His behavior today in court showed that. I don't think he'll change his ways. He'll move on to someone else. Miss Brooks would also ask for tougher sentences against malicious internet trolls, saying, quote, it should not have taken 3 years and 12 different officers for the case to come to court. The onus is on the victim to prove the crime and gather evidence. I was sending officers around 150 screenshots a day of his persistent behavior. I repeatedly reported his comments to Facebook and Twitter, but they said that it didn't breach their standards. It's been more than 10 years since the Miss Brooks trolling had begun online. Despite her primary troll being in jail, the woman still deals with the aftermath of the harassment to this very day. One of the most intriguing and disturbing examples of someone's likeness getting hijacked by trolls is without a doubt the case of Kompton, a Twitter account that garnered thousands upon thousands of followers and attention under a stolen identity, all at the expense of its victim. In a bizarre tale that involves trolling, rice gum, defamation, and a creepy obsession, this is the Kompton story. In late 2015, the Kompton Twitter account was created. At first, it seemed like just a normal, ordinary account made by a woman in her 20s who simply wanted to interact with friends. However, when taking a closer look at the Twitter bio, you begin to realize something is off with this page. It says, quote, proud Christian, mother of 3, suicide survivor, anti-bully advocate. Yeah, something's weird here. Not long after the account's creation, the Kompton profile would begin posting absurd tweets, filled with vulgarities, as well as being incredibly racially provocative. Yes, the account seemed to portray itself as a sex-obsessed woman who would interact sexually with her own brother and participate in other obscene activity. The account would tweet out purported unflattering personal details about themselves, sharing photos of her apparently kissing her own brother and a post about her child surviving 2 abortion attempts. In addition, Kompton made many racially charged comments targeting the African American community. The dichotomy of these wild tweets, juxtaposed with the face of such a relatively average and normal looking woman, confused and compelled the internet. Folks had stumbled upon a freak show, you could say. They had to know more. On Twitter, shocked users would interact with Uma's tweets and share them with friends, causing a viral whirlwind that grabbed the attention of many followers and lurkers that were looking for funny memes and shock content. The extra attention would also lead to YouTubers finding the accounts, especially reaction channels, including one of the bigger channels from the era, RiceGum. On December 24th, 2015, popular YouTuber RiceGum uploaded a video titled, "This Girl Must Be Stopped," in which the popular YouTuber took a look at the Uma Kompton account at face value, reacting to some of her most popular tweets. And it appeared as if RiceGum actually believed this to be a genuinely insane woman, speculating that Uma was some sort of psychopath.
You know my pussy looks like Hiroshima after my man wrecked it. I did not know that. That's kind of weird. I mean, Hiroshima, really? I mean, I'm Asian, so it's like, I'm so lucky I met a man who can come on my heart, not just my face. What the fuck? What is wrong with this girl? I was actually thinking about it, and I think this is actually kind of cool. Like, nowadays, girls don't even show off their man and brag about them, and she's just, I love, like, if my girlfriend ever did this, I would honestly be so happy, because she cares about me and stuff like that. So perfectly fine. And let's just look at this guy's face, man. Like, he's just like, yup, I'm that lucky guy that gets to deep dick coconut head every night.
At one point in his video, RiceGum would pull up a song that was apparently made by Uma Kompton.
Like, okay, I saw this earlier. I didn't play it because I wanted my first time listening to it and my reaction on this video. Like, just look at her face. Like, her face is actually making me mad now.
Hey guys, it's been no secret that I'm in love with a man named Trump. Donald, you're a man of steel. Come and give his titties a feel.
Bizarrely enough, Uma Kompton also had a YouTube page that contained music purportedly created by herself. Many of these songs are disturbing, have extremely vile lyrics, others are just weird, some support Donald Trump. Music would become a large part of the Uma Kompton brand in general.
Down by the river, boy, I'm waiting on you. Pussy needs eaten, beat it black and blue. Hold me in your arms, this love is true. Nothing else matters when I'm fingered by you.
The Twitter account would get a boost to around 4,000 followers after Rice's reaction, and his video on the woman served as a launch pad for the Uma Kompton page on a wider scale. Thanks to the unabashed insanity showcased on the page, the Uma Kompton account would garner cult-like status, with multiple stan accounts popping up to support their queen. Despite being benefited from a numbers point of view, Uma Kompton would fire back at RiceGum's critical video with a racially charged tweet. RiceGum would react to this in another video.
So back in December, I uploaded a video called "This Girl Must Be Stopped," where I talked about this girl named Uma Kompton. And if you haven't seen it, you guys can click right here to watch it. But basically, just a summary of it, I just talk about this girl and how weird she is and how she looks like Coconut Head. And she basically saw my video and she said, "Ain't no ching chong gonna ruin my Xmas. This day is about my Lord and Savior, not some buck chow breathed son of Genghis trying to shade me." And on her Instagram, she said, "This China guy RiceGum was bullying me, yada yada yada. I will not be called Coconut Head anymore. This is a massage to all my haters." A massage to all my haters.
Uma Kompton would also make a diss track against RiceGum that was uploaded to her music channel.
Hey RiceGum, why you acting dumb? You know I fucked your dad and I even fucked your mom. I really shouldn't say it, but I'm having so much fun. Your little sister's pussy tastes so good on my tongue.
It seemed almost as if she was playing RiceGum like a puppet, manipulating the young creator to mention her for the sake of growth. At this point, it felt like Uma could get away with just about anything. She was able to say the most insane shit. No matter how grotesque or how crass, her fans just ate it up. Most of Uma's followers were actually convinced that she was a genuine person, though a small contingent of folks smelt something fishy. And it wasn't Uma Kompton's They speculated, rightly so, that the account was a troll who simply had taken some random girl's image from the internet and was farming engagement, co-opting them with edgy posts. But okay, she was a troll, what was the big deal? There wasn't any harm in what she was doing, right? Well, I mean, do you really want to be associated with shit like this if you ain't actually kissing your brother? It's potentially defamatory. In late January of 2016, reporters at BuzzFeed discovered that the woman associated with the Uma Kompton account wasn't actually named Uma Kompton at all, but rather someone behind the account had stolen the identity of a Russian woman and created their own fake persona using photos from this Russian woman's social media. The news outlet would accuse the troll of using the woman as a guise to tweet and post heinous vulgarities anonymously, while pretending to be someone else. And surprisingly, BuzzFeed would also reveal that they were able to track down the real woman in the Uma Kompton photos. The way BuzzFeed was able to find evidence that Uma was actually just a troll really all boils down to the account owner getting lazy. You see, Uma Kompton at one point would upload a photo showcasing the woman standing in front of a poster, which had a bunch of Cyrillic text on it. And below this poster was a phone number that, when Googled, led inquisitors to a gymnasium's website on a Russian social media page called vk.com. This gym was located in Pravdinsky, Russia, and on the social media page, it just so happened to have a members list of those who attended it. BuzzFeed theorized that it was possible that one of these people may be related to the woman in the Uma Kompton photos, and they would put the theory to the test. Editors from BuzzFeed would thoroughly search through the profiles of each member of the gym until they finally stumbled across a match, an account made by a Russian woman named Natalia, who was using the same photos that had been previously posted by Uma Kompton. The actual woman used in the troll account had been found. BuzzFeed would promptly get into contact with Natalia to relay to her what was going on with her photos. Upon being contacted, Natalia would be confused, as she would explain that she had no idea that her photos were being used for anything other than her own VK page. Naturally, the woman was shocked and repulsed to learn that a troll had taken her images and was posting obscene vulgarities to the web using her face. Her likeness was being stolen and abused, essentially. Natalia's husband, a man named Evgeny, who was the actual person shown in the image where Uma said that she was kissing her brother, he was also reached out to by BuzzFeed and was equally disturbed by this development. Both would agree that this troll had to be stopped immediately, or they could be at risk of being defamed. When asked what Evgeny thought about this whole thing, he said, quote, "Find them." Ryan Broderick, the BuzzFeed reporter who had been covering the Uma Kompton story, decided to take matters into his own hands and would confront the mischievous troll account in direct messages, as Uma Kompton had agreed publicly to be interviewed. He would ask the account why exactly Natalia and her husband's photos were being used for this meme page. But Uma would play dumb and play coy with Broderick, and honestly was rather apathetic towards how her actions affected this Natalia girl. Hi there, I was hoping to ask you a few questions about your account if you have a second. Uma says, "Sorry, Brody the hottie. I mean, sure, not sorry. I was hoping to ask if you knew Natalia and Evgeny. It appears that you've been using their photos without their permission. I asked them about your account and they had never heard of you. But all of their photos on VK are exactly the same as the ones you're posting on Twitter and Instagram." Uma says, "I don't know what VK is. It's like a Russian Facebook. They're a couple living near Moscow and they want to know why you're using their photos to tweet about abortions and Donald Trump. They asked me to find out who was running this account. I'll be publishing a piece about this today. Do you have anything you'd like to clear up or explain?" Uma replies, tongue-in-cheek fashion, "Yas, give me that promo, daddy." After being confronted by the BuzzFeed reporter, Uma Kompton would go full damage control, tweeting out, quote, "Don't believe anything you read in the media about me. It's all lies." Once the BuzzFeed article had been posted showcasing how this account was taking advantage of this innocent Russian woman and her family, people began to sympathize with Natalia, and fans started to turn against Uma Kompton. Reports to the Twitter account flooded in. Twitter staff would catch wind of the situation and would terminate the Uma Kompton account, which at that point had tens of thousands of followers. The troll behind Uma Kompton was persistent, however. Uma would pop up again on Instagram, existing on there for some time, but the masquerading enigma would eventually be banned on that platform as well. This obsessive troll tried continuously trying to remake the Uma Kompton account, but was being banned every time she popped up. Unfortunately for Natalia, she never got any recourse from this disturbing situation. Her photos are now spread all around the internet, many of them associated with disgusting, racist, and incestuous captions, which have likely tarnished her reputation to some degree permanently. The Uma Kompton troll accounts still pop up from time to time, and the individual that started all of this madness remains unidentified to this very day. In the early 2010s, thanks to the popularity of boards like Reddit and 4chan, internet memes went mainstream. Everyone wanted to create the next big meme, and you had many folks actively scouring the internet for images of strange-looking people or people with funny expressions that they could warp into memes. There were many who overnight found their photos hijacked by groups of internet memers and their likeness made the butt of the joke for the entire internet. This involuntary ascension to memehood was the case with one of the most infamous faces in internet meme history, Hide the Pain Harold. Who is this man, and how did internet jokesters and trolls force him to hand over his likeness to the greater internet?
My name is András Arato, but people might know me as Hide the Pain Harold.
András Arato was born in Kozeg, Hungary in July of 1945. Just months before the end of World War II, a conflict that had much effect on the region, to say the least. Not much is known about András's childhood or teenage years. What we do know is that when he became of age, Arato would join the Hungarian People's Army and later attended the Budapest University of Technology and Economics, studying there to become an electrical engineer. The man graduated from university in 1969. Apparently, Mr. Arato was quite the mind in the world of electrical engineering, as he was once appointed as the vice president of the Hungarian Lighting Society, which was a non-profit organization that promoted research regarding lighting theory and practices in the industry.
I got some scientific awards, and I even was elected as the vice president of the Hungarian Lighting Society.
I found over the years doing these stories about living memes, the guys always have like the most unconventional and unlikely backstories possible. Now, the journey for Mr. Arato becoming a meme would begin much later in his life, decades later. It all begins with a bizarre series of events that start in 2010 while he was vacationing in Turkey. During his holiday, András would pose for a numerous amount of photos, as one typically does while enjoying their time off in a foreign land. Mr. Arato would later upload these photos to his personal social media accounts, most notably Instagram, so that his friends could see just how much fun he was having. And well, ladies and gentlemen, this was where his fate was sealed. After sharing these photos, they came across the Instagram feed of a professional photographer. This individual was said to have been in need of an older gentleman to pose for various stock footage photographs. Seeing András as a good fit for the role, the photographer reached out to Mr. Arato with an offer to pose for these sought-after images. The request sparked András's curiosity, and after thinking things over for some time, he would accept the photographer's request and would participate in multiple photo shoots. Hundreds of stock photos were taken featuring András, with him posing as practitioners from different occupations: a painter, an engineer, a doctor, a professor, etc., etc. While discussing what these photos could be used for, András had only one stipulation. He said the photos could be used for anything except for these specific subjects: politics, religion, and sex. His reasoning for this was naturally due to these topics being divisive, and András was not comfortable with photos of him being a part of any sort of social disunity. The issue of politics and religion would be the least of his concerns in the long run, though. After the photo sessions were completed, the photographer, feeling satisfied with what he had captured, uploaded the photo sets onto the internet. They would sit dormant with little interaction for the time being. Months later, in 2011, Mr. Arato would take a look around Google to see how these photos had been used. In this search, he found a stock photo of him posing as a doctor that was being used as a hospital's homepage. Andras thought it was actually pretty cool. He was satisfied with the use of his likeness here, and he would go about his business for some time. Months passed and he gets curious again, and it would be during this second search of himself online that he uncovers something that was initially harrowing. The first memes using his image had started popping up online. The seeds of Hide the Pain Herald had been sown. Apparently, a group of anonymous internet users on the facepunch.com message boards found Mr. Arado's expressions in some of these photos humorous. In a Photoshop contest thread, several of his images were posted as fodder for folks to remix. While I'm unsure if this was the first instance of the name being dubbed, this is the earliest archive that I'm aware of involving internet users referring to Mr. Arado as Hide the Pain Herald. One user prophetically comments, quote, "so much potential." People fell in love with the expressions showcased in Mr. Andras' stock photos, and throughout 2011, his likeness had begun to be used in memes on a large scale. The most common of which took the form of the Hide the Pain Herald image macro, which used a photo of him drinking coffee with his signature pained grin. Accounts across the internet started using him to crack jokes and represent themselves online. He was included in memes of all forms. People used Herald as their profile picture. He was all of a sudden everywhere. The man was surprised to see his images used in this way by Westerners and was initially conflicted about how to feel. Sure, much of the Hide the Pain Herald stuff was wholesome fun, but other variants of the meme using his likeness were highly offensive to him. Andras was overwhelmed by a feeling of bewilderment, as he simply didn't know what to do. Was this a crime that was being done to him? Should he take action to recover the dominion of himself and how he was being portrayed online? He considered trying to take down some of the original stock photos posted of him online, but he couldn't due to him contributing and writing that these photos could be used publicly. He had zero ownership of his likeness in the circumstance. He then contemplated trying to get the websites where his memes were being uploaded shut down. Thankfully, this wouldn't be an effort that he pursued in any serious capacity. Andras eventually came to reckon with the fact that the internet is forever, and attempting to get one website or photo taken down would just cause 3 or more to pop up in its place. In all reality, he likely had no legal right to attempt such a feat anyways. After weighing his options, Andras decided to simply weather the storm and hope that as time passed, people would forget about his silly photos and move on to something else. This obviously wouldn't happen. Unfortunately for Andras, he was a victim of his own success, as the Hide the Pain Herald meme would go on to become one of the most popular internet memes of all time and would be relevant for many years to come. Andras wasn't going to be able to hide from Hide the Pain Herald. Whether he liked it or not, this internet meme was a part of his life now, and when he fully understood this, that's when Andras decided that if he couldn't make this go away, he might as well lean into it. After all, millions around the world got joy from sharing his photos and remixing them. How bad could it really be? On March 3rd of 2013, Andras Arado would finally take the bold step of coming forward as the man behind the Hide the Pain Herald meme. He did so first on a Russian social media site, where he uploaded a photo of himself holding a piece of paper which verified his identity. It says, quote, "I am alive. Hello." It's likely that Andras had a lot of built-up anxiety prior to this big reveal. Would people deride him or ridicule him for being the man behind the bizarre expressions? Turned out to be quite the contrary. Herald was praised as an internet hero by internet users when he came forward and accepted the meme. The man who had provided them years of content had been found, and people online couldn't have been more proud of the guy. Accepting and publicly acknowledging his meme status would change Andras' life for the better. People would stop him in the street to take selfies, and he suddenly found himself being invited to travel around the world and attend events that were centered around internet culture. He would also be invited to appear in numerous commercials as well. The Hide the Pain Herald curse had turned into a blessing. These newfound opportunities would inspire Andras to try different things. He would work as a radio DJ, something he had wanted to do for quite some time, performing this job for 5 years in the industry. He also attended an art camp where he would learn to make oil paintings, an art form that he participates in to this day. In time, Andras would become very proud of his portrayal shown in the Hide the Pain Herald meme, as it would create a lot of excitement in his life, especially at such an old age. In September of 2018, Andras would perform his own TEDx talk, telling his side of the story of when he discovered he was officially a meme.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's amazing to be here, and this time I'm going to tell you a story. It's like a fairy tale, but not a fictional one. It's a true one. It's a story of my life.
In 2019, he would become the face of Coca-Cola in Hungary and also participated in Hungary's version of The Masked Singer in 2020. Contrary to what happens with other popular memes that burn out with time, Hide the Pain Harold is still very much popular today in the meme world. Over a decade later, people are still sharing around these silly photos with Harold's pained and oftentimes bizarre expressions. His contributions to the internet are greatly appreciated. Mr. Arato's ability to lean into the meme truly awarded him his post-retirement life that he enjoys now. He's perceived as a legend in both his country and the greater internet, and will be beloved by millions for decades to come. When trolls stealing your likeness ends up being a positive thing, that is the story of Andras Arato, Hide the Pain Harold. Now we will be discussing one of the most obsessive trolling / identity theft operations in history, Gay Voices for Trump, an absurd plot launched by a 22-year-old internet troll who not only attempted to defraud the public, but also did so by impersonating various members of the Trump family on Twitter. Joshua Hall was a 22-year-old Pennsylvanian DoorDash delivery driver from the city of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. In 2016, while still a teenager, Hall would become interested in politics, thanks to the televised bombastics of the Donald Trump campaign around this time. Joshua Hall tells the New York Times, "I kinda thought he was like a clown at first, but the more I heard him talk, I realized, yeah, he kinda says off-the-wall things, but I do agree with what he's saying." Hall would begin to consume much media online in support of Donald Trump via YouTube and forum-based sites like Reddit. Initially following for the laughs and memes, his interest in Trump and his politics would become more serious with time. Now, at some point in time, Josh would get a little interested in politics and entertainment himself, and he decided that he wanted to become a conservative influencer of sorts. After he graduated high school, he decided to forego college and spend his time building an online persona in an effort to garner a fan base. While online, he would find some small successes here and there, as he would go back and forth debating various progressive accounts on Twitter, though nothing of real note could be observed at this time. He would also self-write and publish a 49-page ebook that was sold on Amazon called Hall Nation. Yeah, it was a self-help book. The book claimed it had 38 rules to life that would teach you to be happy and successful. The visionary 22-year-old would-be philosopher made his first rule: insults are a good thing. That's the first rule there, so start insulting people and you'll find great fortune. Now, as he built the platform on Twitter and other social media sites, one begins to see trouble brewing. Some stuff pops up that makes you wonder, how innocuous is this conservative troll? In the description of a legal defense GoFundMe page created by Josh, he claims that an ex-girlfriend, who he refers to as the quote, Planned Parenthood loving radical leftist, was accusing him of harassment. In light of this accusation and what could actually be considered harassment, he would then begin selling t-shirts that said Josh Hall did nothing wrong and was able to raise $815 on this GoFundMe. Real classy. Now, what's curious about this legal defense GoFundMe is that in relation to this particular harassment case, Josh was actually using a public defender, so he shouldn't have to raise money in that circumstance. Kinda suspicious, like, what's the point of all of this? What are you raising the money for, dog? Well, what we find is that dubious GoFundMes attempting to raise money become something of a hallmark of Josh Hall. More of these would come. Now, Josh would eventually have his main Twitter account banned from the website, and at this point, that's where he enters the impersonation of politicians phase of his online career. A statement given to the New York Times says, quote, "Once I got banned from Twitter, my attitude was kind of like, what the hell, I'm just gonna have fun now. Josh would go on to create an account posing as former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich. Then he would tweet out as if he was the politician admitting something scandalous. These tweets would fool a handful of folks on the platform. He tweets, quote, "Anyone have a few bucks they can spare? I'm really struggling right now." Another tweet involved him posing as the governor saying, quote, "Obama started the coronavirus." For most of the time that the account was active, it did have the parody account disclaimer written in its bio. However, Josh would make more accounts that did not have such a disclaimer. When the former Illinois governor's parody account was removed by Twitter, Josh started a new page with a different notable identity, Dr. Birx, who was the White House coronavirus coordinator at the time. As Birx, he says, quote, "The media is lying to you about this virus. The pandemic was plotted by the powers that be to crash our economy in hopes that Trump will pay for it in November." While a cute tactic, generally speaking, these accounts created by Josh weren't getting that much interaction. Though, feeling as if this personation scheme was a way to get there, he decided to go for the most notable family in the United States. At the time, that was the Trumps. So this is his biggest trolling campaign yet. Josh Hall would make a new account disguising himself as Trump's youngest brother, Robert Trump, who at the time was 71 years old. He specifically picked Robert due to the man not having a Twitter account, which made it easier for Josh's fake to be perceived as the real one. Josh launched a fake account portraying Robert Trump and would tweet out various at the time controversial statements that quickly caused the account to gain followers. As Robert Trump, he says, quote, "The coronavirus was planned and released onto the world by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation," unquote. Twitter would eventually end up removing Josh's initial Robert Trump account as it hit 25,000 followers, but Josh Hall would immediately make a new version of Rob, and this account would somehow even become more successful, amassing over 77,000 followers. Around this time, Josh's original Twitter account, the one that he made prior to the Robert Trump account, was suspended from Twitter. Finding his first real taste of success, Josh would launch a new trolling project, that being Gay Voices for Trump, under the Twitter handle @BuyTrumpGuy. On this account, Josh would advertise himself as a bisexual supporter of Donald Trump, a fake movement to gain support for the right-winged LGBTQ community who loved Donald Trump. The political organization was described as a grassroots coalition of LGBTQ Americans. The thing was, though, Gays for Trump didn't even exist. It was simply a fake account created by Josh with a flamboyant name precisely chosen to stir up controversy. An account that Josh would very cleverly cross-promote with his already successful fake Robert Trump account. On July 23, 2020, posting as Robert, Josh would make a public social media post supporting his, quote, partner in crime @TheBuyTrumpGuy, making Rob say that his friend Josh was doing wonderful work and that everyone should go follow him, giving the Gay Voices for Trump page the complete 1000% Robert Trump endorsement. Uncle Rob runs Gay Voices for Trump with @TheBuyTrumpGuy. Although I am very much a heterosexual male, it's in the Trump genes. We love women, but we are trying to reach out to LGBT and other minority voters. Josh is doing great work, so please give him a follow and support him. The Gays for Trump page quickly began to rack up followers thanks to the fake Robert Trump account's endorsements. It was a pretty smart play, gotta admit. Gay Voices for Trump appealed to both alt-right trolls and gays that actually supported Trump. Josh saw an opportunity not only for more comedy here, but also for money. And that's where problems come into the picture. With the success of the Gays for Trump movement, Josh found it prudent to create a GoFundMe page in support of it, claiming that Gay Voices for Trump planned to have in-person events celebrating the LGBTQ and Donald Trump in the future. On July 9th, 2020, he would allegedly use the Robert Trump account to privately message Trump supporters, urging them to donate to his GoFundMe. I think you can begin to see the issue here. Hey Patriot, we would really appreciate if you have a couple of bucks to spare to organization. All donations go towards field organizing, merchandise, and events. Your contribution will help us re-elect President Trump in November. Thank you and God bless. In the GoFundMe, donors were told that their money would be spent on, quote, field organizing events and merchandise, ostensibly in support of the president's re-election. Now, you may think to yourself this looks like an obvious fake, but you gotta understand many people, especially online, especially those entrenched in politics, they can be suckers and fall for grifters in a heartbeat. If you cast a wide enough net, you're bound to catch a good amount of fish, and people were getting duped. People were donating 10s, 20s, 50s, even $100 in some cases were being given by individuals to promote gay voices for Trump. None of these donors realizing that a trollish entity was behind all of it. It should be noted that around this time on Josh's Buy Trump Guy Twitter page, there were repeated solicitations leading straight to the GoFundMe itself. There was no denying his promotion of the GoFundMe. About a month later, in August of 2020, bizarrely enough, Robert Trump would actually die in real life. So, Josh Hall had to create new Trump replicas of the family to keep the act looking legitimate. The continued impersonation of the Trump family for financial gain would continue. He allegedly made accounts impersonating Mary Ann Trump Berry, the president's sister, and a federal judge, Fred Trump III, the president's nephew. He would even go as far as creating social media accounts that used the resemblance and name of the president's own teenage son, Barron Trump. As Barron, he wrote, "COVID is a scam. Q is real. The more the media delegitimizes it, the more it shows that they're scared." Josh would continue to repeat the cycle, tweeting out as Barron Trump, stating that, quote, "Josh or at the Buy Guy Trump is an amazing patriot who is doing tremendous things for our great country. He has my complete and total endorsement," which again would lead to further donation to Joshua's Gays for Trump GoFundMe. During this alleged scheme, Hall would make a bountiful amount of false statements to potential contributors about the fundraising for his fraudulent campaign. On August 16th, Joshua sent a private message on social media falsely stating that the funds raised for the fictitious political organization on the crowdfunding website would be spent on, quote, field organization and merchandise, and that he, quote, hadn't seen a dime of the money personally. Things had gone smoothly in his plan thus far, but he would hit a roadblock at an extremely inopportune time. Twitter would end up removing most of his Trump-related accounts. This was around the time of the Trump versus Biden election, and Joshua Hall was starting to feel left out. So on November 18th, 2020, seemingly addicted to this activity, he ban-evaded yet again, making a new account pretending to be Kamala Harris's father. But this endeavor got little traction, so he scrubbed the account and replaced the photo with Trump's sister, Elizabeth Grau Trump, and tweeted out, quote, "This election inspired me to break my silence. My brother Don won this election." This post would go completely viral, gaining 20,000 followers in 24 hours. Seeing its success, Josh continued to tweet from it, quote, "President Trump looks tired. He's working so hard. History will not be kind to Brian Kemp. The rhinos are revealing themselves. If Sally Yates becomes Attorney General, Obama gets away with his crimes. Never forget what they did. The only kind of transition I want to see is a peaceful transfer of Obama to prison." On November 20th, 2020, while reeling from the loss of his controversial election run, Trump tweeted out a link to an article from a conservative website who had written about Trump's sister making those posts. Trump says, "Thank you, Elizabeth. Love." For the first time, Donald Trump himself had indirectly interacted with Joshua Hall. According to the New York Times, he went to Snapchat to brag about this interaction to a friend. "My friend was joking, maybe he's not close with his sister and you just brought him and his sister a lot closer," he said. "So I kind of felt good about that." Josh had flown too close to the sun here, though. Trump's actual sister would later expose the account as a hoax, telling the media that she was trying to get it deleted and that she had no further comment to make. Hours after the tweets, the account would be outed as a fake, but the attention from the tweets and Trump's sister speaking on it would be the least of Joshua's worries. You see, the GoFundMe for Gay Voices for Trump had become extremely profitable, with the fundraiser totaling $7,384, which is quite the serious offense given that Gay Voices for Trump wasn't a real organization and the money was garnered off of false pretenses. It wouldn't be long before federal authorities would come knocking. In December of 2020, GoFundMe would contact Joshua repeatedly, asking for documentation that showed how Josh used the funds raised for Gay Voices for Trump. He would refuse to provide any such documentation and ignored their inquiries, which resulted in GoFundMe subsequently closing Joshua's Gays for Trump account. In total, Josh was able to solicit thousands of dollars from hundreds of victims located all throughout the United States. And it said that he used this money for his own personal living expenses. On December 8th of 2020, the New York Times would run a story on Joshua, and the cat would be let out of the bag, as Hall would go on to admit to the news source that he had been portraying Robert Trump, Barron Trump, and Dr. Deborah L. Birx. Joshua would go on to say that all of this was simply jokes, and that he had no malicious intent. When asked why he did all of this, Josh's excuse was reportedly that he just wanted to rally up MAGA supporters and have a bit of fun, and he didn't think that people were really dumb enough to take any of this seriously. Well, clearly they were, dude, if they donated, damn near $8,000, dog. Josh also claimed that he never received any money from the charity. However, sources from GoFundMe told a different story, claiming that there was evidence in the back end that showed money being withdrawn. A report says, quote, a GoFundMe spokeswoman claimed that the organizer behind the fundraiser, an account named Josh H., had withdrawn the money. She said GoFundMe was now investigating how the funds were used and that the company would give refunds to any donors who requested. Authorities would finally catch up to the political troll, as on June 8th of 2021, Joshua Hall would be arrested in Pennsylvania and charged with wire fraud and identity theft. His first charge could lead to a sentence of 20 years and a second 2 years. Allegations from the FBI say, quote, Hall led hundreds of people to believe they were donating to an organization that didn't exist by pretending to be someone he wasn't. As we continue to investigate fraud in all of its many forms, we urge the public to remain aware of the prevalence of online scams and exercise due diligence when making donations online. With a guy like Joshua Hall, it could be that there was never really much malicious intent here. It was just a trolling operation that went too far and, well, some money ended up in an account, and you know how that goes. Any semblance of good faith was thrown out the window when Josh Hall showed his true colors and proved to the public that he was in fact kinda nuts. You see, Josh would ramp things up even further when on August 29th of 2022, while on pretrial release from his previous charges, Hall placed a series of calls to the California office of a member of the United States Congress. In these calls, Hall allegedly conveyed that he wanted to kill the congressman, Representative Eric Swalwell. He's alleged of saying that he had in his possession AR-15s and he wanted to shoot and kill Swalwell. In separate calls, it's also been reported that he said he was going to beat the shit out of him. It said that in these calls he made it clear that his intentions were to come to the Swalwell office and kill him with firearms. This outburst would result in another charge tacked on to his previous. In October of 2022, Josh would plead guilty to one count of making interstate communications with a threat to injure, and in December of 2022, he would be sentenced to serve 20 months in prison for making threats to kill a member of the United States Congress, as well as impersonating family members of former President Donald Trump to fraudulently raise funds for a fictitious political organization. Joshua Hall would eventually get out of prison, and you would think that maybe he'd like to keep a low profile and just chill for a bit. Nope. On January 3rd of 2024, Joshua Hall filed paperwork to run for political office against Representative Lloyd Smucker in the 2024 primary election in Pennsylvania's 11th congressional district. The primary is scheduled for April 23rd, 2024, and the general election will be held on November 5th. Eric Swalwell, the congressman who Hall went to prison for reportedly threatening, has observed Josh's bid for office. He said this on Twitter, voicing his opposition against the man. This is absurd. Hall threatened to kill me with an assault weapon in August of 2022 and spends barely a year in prison, yet nonviolent drug offenders are locked up for years. Our system must make clear you will serve a long sentence, not run for office when you threaten violence. When stealing people's likenesses online lands you in prison, that was the story of Joshua Hall, the creator of Gay Voices for Trump. And well, you've made it to the end. I appreciate you guys watching this video, and make sure you let me know who or what you want me to talk about down below. I want to give a big shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys. WAVYWEBSURF out. Peace.